You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group and co-hosts Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from SIBO. The Option Block is brought to you by SIBO. When it comes to trading volatility, trust SIBO, the creator of the VIX Index, for in-depth and relevant information. SIBO's tools and services gives you up-to-date trade insights, analysis, and positions of VIX options and futures. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/VIX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of CBOE Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively CBOE. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the CBOE products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again for a little bit of the old OB, your bi-weekly source for all things options related. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the ever-exciting, at least we tend to think so. Maybe we're biased, maybe not. Options Insider Radio Network. If I sound like I'm back to my old glorious self, well, it's because I'm back in the regular Chi-Town studio here again. Enjoyed a glorious trip to the Southern studio. Always fun. Also, it seems like we definitely picked a good time to get the heck out of Dodge. A couple of pretty rough weeks here in good old Chi-Town. Biblical floods, plagues of fire raining from the sky, all sorts of fun out there. So not a good time to be downtown here in Chicago, but back in the Chi-Town studio, so you'll be hearing us as usual, your usual assortment of content on your usual schedule again. And of course, if you want to hear even more content in your lives, and who can blame you, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more about all of that fun, listeners. And you know what, listeners, because we're back in the old Chi-Town studio, we can do a little bit of fun called our 80s Wrestling Trivia Game. Here we go. Yes, haven't heard that in a couple of weeks out there. All right, welcome to our 80s Wrestling Trivia Game. A fun way to just kick off our broadcast week here. A little bit of fun, get the blood pumping, get people excited for what's to come here on the old network. I am, of course, joined by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as a surprise Monday appearance by the Rock Lobster himself, Mr. Andrew GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. Now, we know the Rock Lobster not exactly an ace when it comes to 80s wrestling trivia. So I'm going to put this one out there, then maybe I will even let him go first. I'm sure Uncle Mike will allow that as well, to have him have any chance at all. Just name a wrestler. But here we go. Today's wrestler, first off, a big hint. Big fan of the network. Big fan of me personally. He's probably listening to this show as we speak out there. So a big fan of ours out there. We're, of course, a big fan of his from back in the day. He has an infamous, a legendary gimmick that everyone knows and loves him as by now. But he kicked off his career in the 70s with a luchador mask, going by the gimmick of the Super Destroyer Mark II. That sounds ridiculous. It was. But it also apparently was a pretty famous gimmick back in the 70s. Other people donned that mask, including prior to this person, Hulk Hogan was the Super Destroyer. I'm not sure if he was Mark II or maybe he was Mark I, but he was a different Mark. But there were many Super Destroyers, apparently. And this one was Super Destroyer Mark II. He actually sang. He put out an album. I won't say his name. His name is in the title, but it says Blank and Camouflage Rocks America. And he also very infamously or famously really told Vince McMahon to recruit this guy that ended up being The Undertaker. So worthwhile thing for them. I can go some other gimmicks. Let's open up the mics now. First to the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Rock Lobster, sir. This is a very famous 80s wrestler. Even you might have a chance of getting them. I will tell you this. I just said Hulk Hogan. It is not Hulk Hogan. It is not Macho Man Randy Savage. And it is not Andre the Giant. I know those are the three that you know. So just kick those to the curb.
I'm just going to go Ric Flair.
All right, not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. He's a famous guy from that era and also a wrestler. So you're at least on the market there. But alas, that is not correct, sir. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, can you pivot in here and steal this one, sir?
I think I can. All you maggots out there, it's Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes, Sarge himself. Was it the fact that I said he's a friend of the network? Is that what gave it away?
Right away, if it was with Sebastian, I would have buzzed right on that.
Yeah,
you know what? That was a killer because I was trying to remember what guy loved the network, and it was killing me. I thought it was Ric Flair, but that was it. I knew it was somebody.
I was always more of a Sarge guy than a Nature.
Love this show.
He would. I'm always more of a Sarge guy than a Nature Boy guy, though. Not my guy. Sarge, yes. Other trivia points I had for him when he came back in his infamous Iraqi traitor gimmick, which nobody liked, which I discovered today he actually left WWE because of the whole G.I. Joe thing. Vince wasn't down with him selling a bunch of action figures as Sergeant Slaughter, so he left because of that, which is interesting. Which is the way most of us got to know him, through G.I. Joe. And then, of course, he came back infamously in the early 90s as the Iraqi traitor. And it was so much heat, he actually got death threats off of it. Had to wear a bulletproof vest and security in public for a while. And yes, a lot of good stuff with Sergeant Slaughter. He's actually back in the news right now because apparently WWE going out and resurrecting his gimmick, putting it on a female wrestler now and having her come out in the camouflage with his hat, doing the Cobra Clutch, his signature move, and yet not really getting his permission for it. So he is a little angry, shall we say, with WWE right now. So kind of interesting. Sarge back in the news right now, probably listening to this very show right now. Sarge, we all love you, even if Andrew the Rock Lobster has no idea who you are. We apologize for him as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down what the heck is trading out there. And you know what? It's another one of those days where the market kind of struggling to find its footing today. It doesn't know what it wants to grow up to be today. It started off the day literally kind of hanging out in the S&P right around the 4,400 level. Tried to rally a little bit, got up to around 4,411 or so. Then they kind of gave up the ghost, broke back through 4,400 back to 43.91. So it looked like we were going to have a red day, and we were all mostly red for a while there. Then it started to rally again heading into showtime. We're back right around the 4,400 level again. So we're up about 0.1% in the S&P right now. The Dow up about 0.5%. So the Dow feeling its oats a little bit. And the NASDAQ off about 0.1%. So another day where we're kind of struggling to find our footing out there. Not a heck of a lot going on as we're kicking off this new trading week. That means most of our vol friends taking a bit of a break. VIX at about 15.25. When we kicked off the show, down about 2/3 of a point from where it was on the Thursday show. VVIX 97, so back below triple digits, down about 4 points from where it was on Thursday's show. VXX 26.25. Back almost 2 points, about 1 3/4 points to the dark side. UVXY at about exactly at 20 when we kicked off the show, down almost 2 points, about 1.8 points from the Thursday show. SVIX 26.5, down also nearly 2 points, about 1.8 points from where it was on the Thursday show. UVIX at a 5 even, down about 0.5 point, and VolQ at about 19.20, down about 0.2 of a point. So let's go around the horn. Let's start with the guy who won our 80s wrestling game, Mr. Uncle Mike. In addition to his fandom of the network, any other enduring memories of the one, the only Sergeant Slaughter, sir? And then what's catching your eye in the markets today?
A couple of them. So like in his like late 70s, early 80s, I don't know exactly when it was, but he actually had an offer. He would give anyone $5,000 if they could get out of the camel clutch and, or I'm sorry, the Cobra clutch. And yeah, big difference. Camel clutch is a little bit much different from the Iron Sheik, but people couldn't get out of it. And so he really made a name for himself when he was doing that. He was actually my earliest. My dad was a big fan of Sergeant Slaughter, being the patriotic man that my father was, or still is, I should say. He's still very patriotic, but he always liked it when Sergeant Slaughter would say the Pledge of Allegiance before a match. And so my dad would have me stand up and say the pledge right along with Sergeant Slaughter. And I'm 4 years old and I could say it right with Sergeant Slaughter. And my dad was very proud of me. So very happy father and son moment. And he always liked it when Sergeant Slaughter would take on the Iron Sheik. And my dad would always emphasize he'd always have to say the pledge before the match, because after the match, he's chasing around that bad old Iron Sheik. So those are some of my memories of Sergeant Slaughter. And a little known fact about him, he actually did do a stint as a WWE commissioner, probably about, I think it was like 15, 20 years ago. There was Commissioner Slaughter. So he did get promoted to being the WWE commissioner, and not a lot of people remember him for that. Of course, I'm very sad that he did side with Saddam Hussein and betrayed his country, but hey, he said he was sorry, so I forgive him. I mean, just with the good record that he has, why not forgive him for such a thing? Another thing about Sergeant Slaughter, when him and Hulk Hogan wrestled at WrestleMania 9, I believe it was. I forget which one it was, but he actually got a 3 count. They slow counted his 3 count, and it was I blame the ref. Sergeant Slaughter could have beaten Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. Not a lot of people can say that. So with that, those are my memories of the Sarge. And in terms of the memories of this market, we actually have had some decent intraday volatility yesterday, or not yesterday, but Friday and today. At the S&P, we were up at 44.40. And today we really haven't, but on Friday we actually had a sell-off going into the weekend. Apparently no one wanted to be long going into the weekend. And it at least appears that for now, 44.50 was kind of the top end, and not exactly that number, but around there was the top end. And right now it appears that 4,400 appears to be somewhat of a magnet for the short term where we are at this stage. So it'll be interesting to see how strong that magnet is. With where we're going from a technical standpoint. We are getting some buyers in the bonds today. Friday was kind of interesting in that we had a little bit of a sell-off at the end of the day, and we also had a sell-off in bonds, but we are getting a little bit of a bid in the bond world today. In terms of other things that we have with the marketplace right now, I would say that on the individual stock level, I'm really not seeing anything on my tape that's really sticking out too much. I am seeing Amazon down a little over 2% on the day. And I'm seeing Microsoft down a little over 2% on the day. But aside from that, there's nothing really, and even that's not really very major with where we are and what we're doing with everything. So not a lot going on right now. And it just kind of appears that the market's waiting for something. And what they're waiting for, that's something with which we can debate about. But for right now, the market is definitely not showing its hand as of yet. And that's what I'm seeing.
They're kind of stretching their arms, a little bit of a lazy start to the week. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what's catching your eye out there in this little bit of a lazy start? Even though we had some flurries of activity, but they were kind of short-lived this morning. What's catching your eye out there? And also, if you even know who Sergeant Slaughter is, if you have any memories, have at it, sir.
Well, the only memory I have is the little figure you guys talked about.
Yes, you did see him. You did see Sarge in person, yes.
So that was the kind of killing me. It's like, wow, well, they even had the figure there. How could I not remember the figure?
I forgot. Sarge was our grand prize for the 80s guessing game. I wonder what our prize will be this year. Who knows? Still to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, whoa, that was pretty good. I mean, I don't know who did TOSAW win. He was pretty excited. Was it Sebastian? I'm trying to remember who won that thing. They're pretty excited about it.
Seabass edged me out.
As they should.
You
be.
did?
Vintage style Sarge, complete with all the accessories, and even a little mini Sarge. Come on. I had to get one for myself. It was so good.
So, yeah, sadly, I don't have much to remember Sergeant Slaughter by. I don't have those nice 4-year-old memories of hanging out with, but that would have been a long, long time ago. So I don't think wrestling existed when I was 4 years old. Actually, most things didn't exist when I was 4 years old, come to think about it. But today, I'll just say, wow, Microsoft down like a pretty good amount today. I heard something rebalancing in the, it's getting on kind of the lows of the day. Not quite. So are we going to rotate out of tech? And I'm kind of waiting for a bit of this rotation. And I think VIX is kind of waiting for it too. Like I'm watching. So VIX made a bottom pretty much. Let's see here. On the 30th. Actually, the day after my birthday, of all things. And rallied sharply to 17 and change. And we haven't quite shaken that off yet. So even today, we opened up a little higher than Friday's high. So I'm interested to see what's keeping the vol up here, what exactly the catalyst for that is. And I don't have an answer. I heard there's some like rebalancing in the queue. I mean, are we looking for earnings? I guess those are coming out. Usually, what is it? Alcoa kind of kicks off earnings season, as I recall. So we got another week to go for them. So it's one of those things where we have about a week. We're waiting for some earnings to come out, but they're not really, since VIX is 30 day vol, not today vol. It hasn't really recovered back to the mid-13s, even though when you look at, SPX, it's a little off its highs. What are we, 44? Yeah, we were at 44.52, and now we're 45, like a little over 1% from the highs. So it's almost like VIX has been sort of outperforming the S&P 500 move. And for the first time in a few weeks, the old option pit fair value indicator, we're under that for all the for VIX. It just means that the forward vols are a little lower historically than where they normally are. That's all that means. And generally, that slightly flatter VIX curve means VIX itself is going to move a little more than normal over the next week or so, at least until July expiration. That's kind of observationally what I found. So we could see like VIX crash or 17, 18 again. I know that sounds crazy, but that's sort of that's sort of my prediction, just based on how the liquidity providers are pricing everything.
Let's see what's cooking in the rest of ye old market, listeners. And again, we're kind of waiting to see what's cooking, at least in certain aspects of the market. That's certainly the case out there in the vol market right now, listeners. VIX hanging out a little bit shy of 250,000 contracts right now. The ADV continuing to drop. Again, we are in that sell in May and go away period, listeners. So usually July, not a seasonally robust period for the vol market, and that's reflected in the ADV dropping down to about 767. That's still pretty robust. That's certainly not below 500,000 contracts or anything like that, but trending a wee bit lower than it was, let's say, a couple of weeks ago. SPY, though, again, a day that's paint drying, doesn't matter. SPY's putting up numbers, 4.31 million contracts on the tape right now. The ADV about 7.7 million. The S, 1.31 million. Again, a year ago, that would have been awesome paper. Right now, that's kind of like, we expect a little more from the S right now, given all the zero DTE frenzy that's going on out there. 7.7 million is, 2.8 million. That would have been something for the S. 2.8 million is your ADV for the SPX. The small caps, 666. The number of the beast is their volume right now. The ADV, 968. Awesome song by Iron Maiden as well. Go check it out. Speaking of all things that are fun from the 80s. The Qs, 1.86 million. The ADV, 3.12 million out there. Let's keep on rolling, see what's lighting up our tape in the single names. And the answer is actually it's a decently active day. 285,000 contracts is what it costs you to break into the top 10 right now. That certainly ain't nothing. That gets you to our friend AMC. Again, we're threatening 300,000 contracts on an otherwise kind of sleepy day. So it's kind of interesting how that works out sometimes, where the macro can kind of be drifting, but the single names, maybe they're getting excited for the ramp up of the next leg of earnings season. We shall see. But number 10, that gets us to the reigning king of the apes, AMC, kind of treading water right now, kind of unched on the day. It's had about a 9-cent range, so not a big price action day for AMC. Hanging out $4.20 right now, unched on the day. Good for 285,000 contracts, though, so that's certainly not nothing. Number 9, we're already up over 300K, so that's a good sign, listeners. Everyone's talking about cheapy EVs again, at least from a stock price perspective compared to Tesla. Cars, of course, still kind of expensive, but the stock a little bit lower priced. NIO coming in at number 9, 318,000 contracts out here. NIO, $10.70, up a little over $0.50 or a little over 5%. So nice little pop. Maybe they're catching some of that tailwind that has been lifting just the general joy for cheaper EV makers in the light of all this RIVN news out here. Either way, they are popping. Good for 318,000 contracts on the tape. And the number 9 spot, number 8, jumping markets, shifting gears, going all the way out to China, listeners. It's BABA coming in at number 8, 342,000 contracts. Apparently, China is kind of back on again. 91.25 is where it's trading right now, up about $0.75. So a decent day for BABA. I think they've had a little over a $2 range, but actually about $2.40 range on the day. So not bad out there. A little bit of action for BABA, hence its placement on the list. And then number 7, a little bit of a head scratcher. The Rock Lobster just talking about this one. Apparently, if you have AI in your name, you could go down. I didn't realize that was possible anymore. I thought you could only go up. But Softy proving the opposite today. $3.30 and about a third, off nearly $7. They sold down to as low as around $3.27.5 earlier this morning. So they have rebounded off the lows, nearly $3. But they also traded as high as about $3.35.25 today. So still selling off. Pretty decent clip, about 2% today. So apparently Softy can sell off. Intriguing stuff out there. Let's keep on rolling to number 6. Since we're talking AI, you got to talk about this name. Coming in a little low today, NVIDIA coming in number 6. A paltry, a meager 431,000 contracts. NVIDIA also selling off about 4.75. So maybe there's something to the Rock Lobster's rebalancing rotation out of AI and into some other names, because Microsoft and NVIDIA both were in it today, off nearly $5 for NVIDIA today as well. Good for 431,000 contracts, and then tying them, but somehow sneaking north of them a little bit. So probably 431.1 thousand contracts is the artist formerly known as Facebook Meta. 290, almost 291. So they're bucking the trend. They're up nearly half a buck today. So a nice little resurgence here for Meta. Of course, they were selling off this morning as well. They got down to it's like about 287 even before rebounding nearly $4 now. So they've had a nice turnaround. Just in the last hour or so. So yeah, interesting. Time looks like they got as high this morning as 298. And then they sold off to 287. So wow, crazy price action out there in Meta today. Good for, again, 431,000 contracts on the tape right now. And the number 5 overall spot. Number 4 goes to our friends, the Amazonians, 521,000 contracts. They're selling off today as well, off nearly $3 or about 2.2%, trading a little bit shy of 127 right now. And again, good for 521,000 contracts. Number 3 is a name a lot of you have had on your radar for the last few sessions at least. This is RIVN, up about 2.25%, taking a break from its just explosive upside. It's like they actually came for it a little bit earlier this morning. They sold it down to about 23.5. Now they rallied it all the way up to about 26.5, and now it's settling out right around 25 1/3. Still up about half a buck or so today. Of course, taking a break from its insane explosive upside. Over the last 5 days, it's up $7.50 or nearly 42%. So nice run for them. They were trading shy of $17 a week ago, and now 25 1/3. Of course, you go back even farther. They got beginning of looks like the end of June actually. They were trading right around 13.5. That was the near-term nadir. They actually got lower. They were trading a little bit shy of $12, but 13.5 was as low as they were back in late June when this new resurgence started kicking in out here. So you've had a nice run, about $12 to the upside in RIVN there, and it's good for nearly 700,000 contracts. So some folks are slinging themselves a little bit of RIVN today. Let's just pull it up really quickly, see what the most actives are out there in RIVN. Today we have the July expiring this Friday, 25 calls. So at the monies, makes some sense. Trading nearly 37,000 times today, all that opening today. So wow. A lot of paper on the 37s, followed by the AUG 20 puts, 28,000 of those bad boys, and 27,000 of the July 26s also expiring this week. So intriguing stuff, but that's not optimistic enough for you. How about the AUG 30s? They've traded 21,000 of those today. And then the July 30s expiring this Friday, 21,000 of those as well. So a lot of action here in RIVN. If you started slinging some RIVN, maybe getting into some of that momentum trading out there, listeners, I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know what you think as you keep on rolling into number 2. Yeah, it's the old fruit company selling off today. So the market obviously has a frowny face today, listeners. 188 and about a quarter, off about $2.50 today for Apple. They tried to bounce it a couple of times today. Got up to 189 and about a quarter, and then that was all she wrote. Though they have bounced off the lows. They hit about 187 even earlier this morning, so they have bounced about $1.25 from there. Intriguing stuff for Apple, and then you know what number 1 is, listeners. All this love for the little baby-priced EVs, the king of the EVs, and the king of the options volume right now. Tesla, 268 and about 2/3, off nearly $6 today as well, so they're coming for this one as well. Got down to about 265.5 earlier this morning, so it has rebounded 3 points from the low, but still a far cry from the 277.5 that it was trading at earlier this morning. So yeah, coming for Tesla out there as well. Good for 1.25 almost million contracts out there. The Rock Lobster was mentioning that we do have some earnings on the horizon. It looks like it really kicks off in earnest, unless you're really excited about Helen of Troy and WD-40 today. And we always joke about Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy usually marks the literal dregs of the earnings season. You're kind of done when Helen of Troy is popping off. But we have coming up later this week, listeners, if you're intrigued by all this goodness, we got more kicking off for you, including Delta Airlines before the bell on Thursday. We've got Progressive, PepsiCo also on Thursday. And then Friday, we've got Citi, we've got State Street, we've got BlackRock. So a lot of the financials people have come to know and love. JP Morgan, Citi. That's when, for a lot of people, earnings season proper really kicks off when we see the financials announced. So yeah, a few more days, listeners, and we are right back in it. Seems like you just got out of it, but hey, we're right back in it. And we'll have you covered with all of the earnings move results, earnings season, and earnings trades reports. You know, I was joking about Helen of Troy. The least I could do is break them down for you. We do have an earnings move results for them hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORATS. They went into their announcement 112 and about a half. They were pricing in 8.8%. Get this, listeners. They delivered nearly 16%. So Helen of Troy delivering when it comes to the earnings juice, trading north of 130. And you know what? They have continued to rocket north. Holy crap, rallying 19.5 bucks today, or about 17.25%, trading 132. Wow, Helen of Troy on the rampage today. I guess their earnings were pretty good. You know what? I mock them no more. They are bringing the thunder today. In case you're not familiar, listeners, they are a designer, developer, and worldwide marketer of consumer brand name housewares, health, and home and beauty products under a variety of known and licensed brands. So there you go. They own Hydro Flask. That's one of the big ones you're into. So yes. Wow. Helen of Troy lighting up the tape out there today. I mock them no more. Interesting stuff. And coming up this week, of course, we've got some for you. Let's look really quickly. Let's go out to the 13th before the bell for Delta Airlines. 47.88 is where the stock was when we ran these numbers. Again, hot off the presses from our friends over there at ORATS. Pricing in nearly $2 right now in the straddle. In the past, they moved about $1.50. So a little bit of extra juice for Delta Airlines. That's interesting. Let's keep going out to the beverage market. Let's go out to PepsiCo. 183 even is where they were trading when we ran these numbers. Wow, they're pricing in $3.65. In the past, they've moved about $2.50. So over $1 worth of extra juice in PepsiCo. That merited? Interesting. So much juice in the beverage business these days. Let's go out to Citi, see what the financials are pricing in. 45.75 is where the stock was. They're, of course, popping off on Friday. They're pricing in $1.56. In the past, they've moved to $1.73. So a little bit of less juice. I think that makes some sense. Let's go to JP Morgan. Same day, 144 in the third. They're pricing in about $4. In the past, they've moved $4.30. Doesn't seem like a lot of the contagion fears are behind us. So in that sense, maybe a little bit less juice, but not a ton. It's mostly in line with slightly lower, I think. I think that's a fair prognostication for a lot of these. But PepsiCo pricing in a ton more juice. Interesting. What's cooking out there in the beverage market? I guess we'll all find out together. Speaking of finding out, listeners, let's find out what the Eye of Sauron holds in store for us today. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's do this thing. Let us unleash the beast and see what it fixes its fiery gaze upon today. And let's see, first off, we have everyone's favorite. This is Clean Energy Fuels Corp, ticker symbol CLNE, CLNE. Trading right now $4.85, up about 7 cents. So not a banger day for them. Looks like they traded as high as $4.92. Trading about $4.85 right now. They opened around $4.78, so a little bit of a rally out there for Clean Energy Fuels. Let's go back a little bit. A year ago, they were trading almost exactly where they are right now, about a dime higher, $4.96 to be precise. And then they rallied all the way up to their high for the year of looks like about 8.5, almost $8.60. That was back in August of last year. And they came for it, drove it back down to $4.87, so right back to where we are again right now. Then they rallied it again in November. They got it back up to 7.75. And that seems like that was all she wrote for this name. It kind of ran out of steam there. It sold off to about $5.50 and hung out there for a while until late February. Then it fell off another cliff down to about $4. Actually broke $4 around the February-March timeframe. Got down to $3.84. That was their low for the year. They tested it again back in late May. They have obviously bounced $1 off that level now, trading $4.85. They're kind of net unched on the year now, but they have rallied again. The last couple of months, they've gained about $1 back, but also well off their highs of a little north of $8.50, which came back in August of last year. So what is our Eye of Sauron found out here for good old Clean Energy Fuels Corp, what the cool kids call CLNE? looks like somebody thinking, Mr. Rock Lobster, we got some of that good old juicy upside coming back to play, because we've got somebody coming in and not just saying, I'll take those 5s off the table. They said, I'll do you one better. I'm going to buy the 6s, the SEP 6s in particular. They scooped 5,000 of the SEP 6 calls. They paid 19 cents for these, so not an explosive amount of money, but not nothing either. Again, it is a sub $5 stock. This was about a 60 vol, though, so still juicy from a premium perspective. The stock was a little bit lower, $4.76 when they traded these, so they bought these pretty much right around the opening price. There are going to be earnings between now and September expiration. They come on August 3rd. So, Mr. Rock Lobster, $6. That's a bit of a move. It got up recently as high as about $5, it seems like, before it gave up the ghost back in late June. That's the highest it's been since February, when it was around the $6 level. So it can get back up there, but it needs a bit of momentum, sir. What do you think of these SEP 6 calls for 19 cents, sir? And your new favorite name, CLNE.
That's I traded this one a little bit in our capital gains. I thought this was kind of an interesting stock. I thought this one was a few kind of clean energy companies that attempted making money. I don't know. There's some kind of natural gas, like they recycle gas or something like that. Distribution of renewable natural gas, and compressed tanks and stuff like that. So they actually have some revenue. They sell their stuff. This is maybe they might be a beneficiary of the some of all those Green New Deal dollars coming out that the government seems to be doling out in a big way. What do they have? A $400 billion fund for green energy projects. So this could be a possible beneficiary of that. But yeah, it just looks like a straight up upside call buy. And this stock has moved before. Like it can move. It just, for a long time, it sits and does nothing. It reminds me of a certain oat flavored milk company. But of course, this is above $2. So we don't name that other company.
What you're saying is CLNE is tasty and delicious. That's what you're saying to me.
Yes. Their renewable natural gas is tasty and delicious. Yes. So, yeah, it looks like a little upside call play. Not unreasonable given the time to expiration. So I don't think it's an unreasonable trade.
Not terrible, not great, not unreasonable, certainly. I'd file that in pay your 19 cents, you take your chances, it's your scratcher. You hit, or that 19 cents is pretty much gone. But intriguing stuff nonetheless. You like these, listeners? The CLNE SEP 6s, you're going to be scooping these bad boys for 19 cents, probably a little bit more now because the stock has rallied a little bit, but intriguing stuff out there. Let's go the other direction, Mr. Rock Lobster. Let's go to Ball Corp, ticker symbol Ball. And when you see a company that's called Ball Corp and the ticker symbol is Ball, you're going to assume what they make, listeners. And yes, if you guessed glass jars and lids, then you are correct. Because why wouldn't Ball Corp make glass jars and lids, Mr. Rock Lobster? Why would they make balls? It's far too on the nose. You got to go a little bit deeper here for the odd block.
Glass Ball Corp?
Yeah, they make all the products you need for home canning. Is home canning still a big thing? Do you do that in the shores of Maine, Mr. Rock Lobster? A little home canning in the compound?
I have not. I'm actually trying. Everybody's like, I'm trying to grow some vegetables. I'm attempting because I would like to be self-vegetable sufficient at some point because I'm crazy that way. I figure if I clams, chicken eggs, and vegetables, and I can survive. But yes, I think ball canning. I know my wife used to pick pickle peppers of all things, which were quite good. But as far as what's the symbol for ball again?
Just ball. BALL.
Oh, really? BAL? Right.
That's a hard one.
Because I didn't get the show notes as usual because I'm the redheaded stepchild of Monday options.
Did our producer not cheer you the love again? We'll tell you what. I can remedy that post haste, sir. There you go. So now you could play along with the home game. So while you review that,
I was trying to. Is the ball volume today? Because I can't see any. Let's see here. Oh, there it is.
Got some puts. There you go. You look at that.
50.
I regale the folks with what's going on out here. This is, of course, Ball Corp for all your home canning needs. If you want to buy a ball, go somewhere else, listeners. Trading 56.5 off nearly $1 today. So apparently the home canning market is in decline, at least for right now. On the year, it looks like the same deal. Off nearly $12 on the year, a little over 17%. Was trading $68.5 a year ago. They got up all the way to about 74 1/3 in August. That was their high for the year. Then they fell off a cliff. August 3rd, they're trading $73. By August 9th, they were trading about 54. Then they fell again to, looks like their low for the year, right around $46. That was in September of last year. Hung out there for a while. They tried to rally it in February, got up to about $61. Then it kind of fell back down to earth, back to about 50 in April. Tried to rally it again in May, got up to about almost $60 again. And they fell off again, right back down to about $51 the beginning of June. So looks like maybe they're trying to rally it again for the third time. Got up to 58.5 last week, and since then has fallen back to where it is right now, 56.5. Maybe that explains why somebody is out there scooping the puts today, Mr. Rock Lobster. Somebody coming in and scooping 4,185 of the AUG 50 puts, 5-0. They paid 55 cents for these bad boys. That's about a 38 vol. The stock was actually a little lower, so they bought these maybe on the low. Stock was 56 1/4 when they bought these. So the stock has rallied about $0.25. So obviously not a good sign for these puts, but still intriguing. Mr. Rock Lobster, now that you've seen what the heck we're talking about, what are your thoughts on these ball puts? And whatever you think, do not go to Ball Corp and ask for a ball, sir. They will say, go elsewhere.
Yeah. They will not send you the ball you're looking for. Kind of an interesting. I don't know. I don't understand. So this stock trades at a pretty good multiple. They do all kind. I'm just going to say I'm going with this name in general. So they do a lot of aluminum. I guess the little lids for the glass jars, stuff like that. They do a lot of packaging, and they're really getting kind of smoked here. Stuff for aircraft parts, kind of an interesting, diversified manufacturing company. Just a lot of these stocks this year have gotten annihilated. So I think this is an interesting trade from the point of view of, I think inflation has hurt this particular company a little more. It doesn't look like they're passing off all of their whatever the price increases are, because earnings have declined over the last year and a half. So, I mean, maybe somebody's buying a protective put on this one, but yeah, I see this put as definitely being bearish. And I was looking for some stock with it. I have not seen any stock. Yeah, they're just saying a single leg traded on the floor, not tied. So. Yeah, it just looks flat out. It looks flat out bearish, kind of at the bottom, which not my favorite trade in some of these commodity stocks right now.
No, not indeed. And we were joking earlier about can AI sell off. Of course, NASDAQ announcing they're going to have this special rebalance to quote unquote curb the dominance of our old friends, the Magnificent Seven, which now account for over half of the 55% of the NASDAQ 100 is now these 7 largest companies. So of course, you're talking about your Googs, your Alphabets, your Metas, your Teslas, your Amazon, your Nvidia, your Apple, and your Microsoft out there. Even NASDAQ obviously feeling the weight of that, trying to readjust, which is obviously what is weighing on some of these names today. Looks like they haven't announced the exact distributions yet. Looks like those will be announced this Friday, and then the actual rebalance will take place on Monday, July 24th, to, quote, address over-concentration in the index by redistributing the weights. Interesting. I'm trying to recall. Can you recall another time, Rock Lobster, that NASDAQ has done this, has rebalanced kind of mid-stride just to address the explosive dominance of a couple of names, sir?
Oh, so they're going to add Ball to the whole list?
Yeah, going to make it move again, but not with these names.
I'm kind of writing a couple of Microsoft puts that have not done very well. It was kind of rolling out on something else. So I think the rebalance. What are they going to do? Like sort of underweight the market cap? I find it interesting, but well, that means if it's not part of the queue anymore, I guess people will start to get rid of some of it, which I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, to be quite honest. But normally the market takes care of rebalancing itself at some point when everybody just sells the stocks. But anyway, that's kind of my unscientific take on that, on the rebalancing thing. But Microsoft is down like $5 or $6 today, so we haven't seen that at least in a couple of days recently. So I would assume that's what the reason is. But it's not down 2%, and it was down a little lower today. So it's definitely having an effect on some of these stocks.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely piling on to all these names that we've been talking about pretty much for the last few months as really just driving the train right now out there. You know who really drives the train of this show? It's Uncle Mike. So let's get to him. A little bit of the old strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody. Uncle Mike has a special NASDAQ rebalance themed edition of the Strategy Block. So go for it, sir. Have at it.
All right. So there are ways with which you can rebalance your portfolio. And one of the ways that you can do it is through collars. Now, this has nothing to do with the NASDAQ rebalance, but it is something that might be a little bit intriguing if you feel that you want to get into the market right now and the market's a little high.
I threw you a curveball. Well played, sir. Well played.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of good transition on that one. So with that being said, two ways that I typically play a collar. A traditional collar to where XYZ stock is at 50, let's say, sell a 55 covered call for $1, buy a 45 put for $1 for the same expiration. Very oversimplified. Seldom is it that cut and dry, but that's the concept of it. And the idea is that you have $5 of potential upside, $5 of potential downside. And if the stock does have a nasty move to the downside, then you can profit from the put, take those put profits, and then rebalance it by putting your funds elsewhere or by buying more of the stock that you just did the collar on. You can let the market pay for your dollar cost averaging. But what I want to talk about today is if, let's say that you're bullish on the market, you want to have some type of downside protection, but you're not necessarily looking for catastrophe protection. Well, what you could do is something called a knockout collar. And what that means is that same scenario, XYZ stock is at 50. You can sell the 55 call for $1, let's say. And once again, I'm just making up numbers. But these will come out somewhat similar. And let's say on the stock or on SPY or the market as a whole, whatever the case may be, you're fine. You think it just might have a little bit of a pullback in the near future, but you're not concerned of a doomsday scenario. You're not concerned with it going to zero. Well, one thing you can do would be to buy a put spread. So in other words, instead of buying the 45 put, perhaps you could buy the 40 put for $2, sell the 45 put for $1, and there's your dollar right there that you can spend in a different way. You'll then have immediate protection from 50 down to 45 that the market paid for from the covered call that you sold. Now, when doing that, of course, the danger is that if it goes significantly below 45, you are not protected. But once again, that's not your concern in this scenario. If the stock were to go down to the 40, 42 level or something along those lines, if you liked it at 50, you'll love it at 40 or 42. And if that's you, then a knockout collar might be something with which to consider. Because if that's the case, then you can profit immediately from the spread. Now, when I say profit, you will end up breaking even, if you will, if you hold the trade till expiration between 50 and 45, because you'll lose on the stock but gain on the put. However, you have that protection in place. And for some people, that's a pretty nice peace of mind. And when doing that, you have the ability to kind of rest easy if you're concerned about a minor pullback, but you also have a way to have some upside in the market. And if you're at a point to where you're like, you know what, I like this market, but man, I heard Uncle Mike saying, buy the dump, sell the hump, don't diddle in the middle, but I really want to get into this market. Well, that might be a way with which to consider doing it because of the fact that you have a little bit of protection should we pull back on the marketplace. So it's called a knockout collar because once it goes below the short put price, in this case 45, you're knocked out of your protection. You're knocked out. So with that, something to think about when markets are a little bit higher, but you're still a little bit bullish, but you're also a little bit chicken. This could be something with which to consider. And that is the knockout collar.
A little bit bullish, but a little bit chicken. Uncle Mike just described himself to a T as we keep on rolling right on into Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
I'm just kidding. We all love Uncle Mike here on the old show. We also love a little bit of your feedback, listeners. Right now, our question of the week just went live right before showtime, listeners. We're asking you, I said before on Vol Views and other shows, when the VIX hits 12, I get a little nervous. I get a little squeamish. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up. That's because the last time we really saw a 12, well, actually the last couple of times, it's all been bad. The last time was actually back in January of 2020. We all know what happened then. But before that, the previous time it hit 12 and actually hung out there and went lower was back in 2017. We talked about it many times. It was the whole Trump era, madness ensued. But that really did a number on the options market. Nobody wants to see a repeat of that. So we thought we'd ask you folks this week, when VIX hit 12 back in 2017, it kicked off a dark period for the options market. Will we see a repeat this year with lower volatility leading to lower volume in the second half? Obviously, the first half still pretty rocking. In the second half of 2023, gave you two choices. Yes, low VIX kills volume at the end of the day, or no, zero DTE will save us all. Let's go to the Rock Lobster. First off, what is your vote? B, what do you think our audience is voting for? And C, what are you keeping an eye on until the Thursday episode, sir?
Very interesting. Well, of course, this is a much different poll than what are you going to eat on the 4th of July? By the way,
that was super fun too. Poll. That was a super fun one. I mean, we asked the hard hitting questions here. By the way, hamburgers. In case you're wondering,
serious news organization.
Hamburgers took it. About almost half of the audience choosing hamburgers. About a third choosing hot dogs, and the rest scattered for corn on the cob. Now, I thought hot dogs was going to take it, but no, hamburgers taking it, sir, proving me wrong.
I think a low vol. My view is options level bull market. So as long as that low vol is a company with a bull, I think we'll still have a lot of volume. It also means people that like to sell options have to sell more to get the same money. So as we all know, 2017 led to 2018. So I think we'll probably, if history is any guide, we will probably get the same thing again. So I don't think low VIX kills be in that no, the zero DTE will save us camp, I think. And this week, looking at CPI, because that's coming out Wednesday. I think that's kind of why we have this latent bid for the VIX.
There we go, a little bit of CPI. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you. Are you feeling that low vol is going to kill volume second half of the year? You think 0 day is going to come in to save us? And then what are you keeping an eye on until the Thursday show?
I think that I don't know if the zero DTE is going to come to save us, but I really don't see us at VIX at these low levels at the rest of the year. But we will see. In terms of what I'm looking at for the rest of the week, in addition to what Andrew says, definitely watching 4,400, seeing if that's the new magnet that we have now for the SPX.
All right, everybody. That music means we be done, at least with this show. By the way, if you're wondering, right now it's hanging out in the early voting. We have nearly 78% of you saying yes, low VIX kills volume. It's going to hit volume the second half of the year. And about 22% of you saying nope, zero DTE going to come to the rescue. Obviously, you don't have to believe 0 days. You put that in to kind of be fun. You could just choose no. Fun stuff at Options is the place to go to make your voice heard throughout the week. And Mr. Uncle Mike, if folks want to hear your voice or see your videos or read your tweets throughout the week, where should they go? What should they do?
Follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, or check out my YouTube channel. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management and type in an option strategy. You'll get to see my smiling face. And if you're interested in looking for a financial advisor, go to my website, stcharleswealth.com.
There you go. St. Charles Wealth, the place to go. And Mr. Rock Lobster, if they want to see you in all your glory with your sweet, sweet new setup and mic, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to optionpit.com. If you've listened to this show, 888-TRADE-01, get 10% off. And just not for nothing, they are predicting a year-over-year CPI in the 3 handle. So I'm incredulous if we can get that low, but probably if we get anywhere close to that, they would like it.
Jesus, you get a 3 handle.
Money Map Press. Check out my weekly profit cycle.
You get a 3 handle. What do you got? 5,000 in the S&P? What the hell? 3 handle?
Yeah, well, that's what they're saying. CPI year over year June estimated on Bloomberg at 3.1%. 4% was the previous.
All right. I guess we shall see. We'll see, listeners. Unfortunately, we won't see any more on this show, but don't worry if you're hanging out in the live. We'll be back in a little bit with the crypto rundown, and then back with your usual assortment of content and colorful cast of characters, including, I do believe, let's see. Well, tomorrow we've got the Uncleist of Mikes, some dude you may have heard of on this show, taking on all comers with the pro Q&A. So he's stepping into the hot seat. So get your questions in now. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro, the place to go to learn more. Wednesday coming back at you with the old OBC at 1 o'clock for all you pro members on demand. You'll be getting it later on, of course. And then back again on Thursday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.